Oh, go ahead. Let me get rid of this guy. Dana Beach.
I stopped it. You're good.
Oh, Dana's picking up her daughter, so she'll be here shortly.
Okey-dokey.
All right. It's Monday, October 25th, 6:30, special city council meeting for budget workshop. And so do a roll call here. Ryland, Lychorst,
Lizzie Fukun, Lori Novak.
Jim Richards.
all right. Need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Jim I.
That's right, her voice will go, sorry. Okay, like to strive to be done by 7:30 if we can. Lori has to leave, I think, so that's still the plan?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so today you received a spreadsheet that was kind of a work in progress, but we want to get something out there. But what it reflected was a one change in the 9% increase of health benefits. So with that health benefit increase, if we, for those that, and Jim, if you can just look at my spreadsheet too. So what happened here was that it, let me go for this further here, okay. Oops. So it was, what happened was it was a $3,179 increase. So our general levy went from, and for those people that are here, I just realized that what we adopted at the September meeting, or early September, was a general levy of $885,552 for the general levy. And these other go bonds, everything stayed the same, but so this increase with that 9% increased $888,731. So right now we're starting out with a $3,179 difference over our preliminary budget. So that's something we need to back out of the budget someplace along the line and make sure we don't go over that. So we need to take care of that total, plus as we go through tonight, any other totals that we may have. Let's see if I can't get this. There, okay. So if we go up to the front, and let me just see if I can. Yeah, okay. So right now, this is that updated figure that's over that $885,000 figure, so. That's data. There she is.
Sorry. Oh, God, didn't it? You gave me this turn, didn't you? What is going on? I know it like pushes you out. So I get,
Well, we just start. Kick off, I can go down here. The 9% increase was about a 3,000, well, it was a $3,179 increase over our preliminary level. This sheet I handed you tonight is just a reminder of where what our levy's at that we adopted earlier. So tonight in this revision A, I went through and made some comments off to the side here that bring some attention to something, so. So unless somebody has a different approach, we'll just kind of go through group by group to see where the changes were. You can see what I changed and in these discussion points too. So going through the revenue first. What we've requested for 2022 is pretty much lines up again, just as a reminder, this was our actual date and C in 2020, and this was the budget that we, for this year, and this is where it's at as of today. Geraldine printed off a new revenue expenditure report, and I went through and updated all of these lines today. And that reflects what we proposed in our budget earlier this year, so, or in September. One thing I wanted to bring to attention just in the revenues is that we had a nice bump in revenue for building permits. And of that, about 28,000 of that was, we had one new home, the lot split house that was built at the end of Riverwood Drive. That was about a over $13,000 fee for the building permit in the Whackensack, because it's not part of a subdivision. The Whackensack was higher. Another home in Riverwood, Riverbend, and there's also the improvements for the Jesse for the schoolhouse. And there was one other remodeling, but that was a big contributor towards that 52,000 of permits for revenue. Something just caught my attention there. LGA, I thought that was, oh, that was this year, okay. I thought it was more than that. I gotta check that out. But most of this revenue was pretty much in line what we're thinking about. This 102,000 miscellaneous. Part of that was the $80,000 off to the side here is a note that the $80,000 needs to go up to a line further up. But it was here in miscellaneous, so we'll do a journal entry to get that. It's still part of the revenue, but we need to put it up here in this column up here, but it's still accounted as a revenue. So end of October, 25th October, revenue is 836. Compared to our budget, and we still have 2 more months yet, and we'll get a small property income tax or property tax, I think, at the end of December too. So that will bring that up as well. Okay. Just speak up if there's something you want to have a question about or anything. City Council, of course, we'll have our checks and day after Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving week, so that'll be coming up. So this will fill out. Clerk treasurer, this is a transfer over from our salaries that are effective next year and all the benefits that go with it. And those all look right or fill out these different things for the city clerk. Put some funding in here for training. Hopefully we'll be back to some conference fees and some training, in-person training in 2022. There's ongoing training now for this year, so hopefully there'll be more coming too.
And do we have enough set? I know there was some classes or certifications that you were looking at. We have enough budgeted for that.
Yeah, she does.
And for your licenses, can we have enough in?
That's further down in.
We'll get there.
Okay.
That's further down.
I feel like there could be more money in our training budget, but just with all the licenses we have to,
Is that a
Keep.
lot of-
yeah. And we'll get to that, hopefully. 7:30, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's no fire in the next hour.
Mhm.
Okay, so deputy clerk, it's the same type of thing, funding, training. And then here's the line item for the part-time office clerk, and this was 1850. What we talked about, that we're coming in for 1 January. Election judges, there'll be some activity going on there next fall. Financial administration. It's pretty much. That bond insurance is so high.
Supposed to be 450.
I think that's 450, Ryland.
I think so too.
You might have thrown in the extra.
Yeah.
It should not be that, no.
There we go, right there.
That was a good catch.
All right, we're
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned, Ryland. Let's go home.
I think we're done, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Don.
Let's just see what that did. I did, yeah, okay, we're back down here, so. That's a good move, thank you.
So now Ryland, and maybe we're
Okay.
gonna, maybe we're gonna get to this, but remember in our last council meeting, we talked about planning and zoning, that service to help with the P and Z type things. Is there a line item in here? We don't know what we would go for or who, but did you already add a line item for planning on that? You know which one I'm talking about, and I apologize, I can't remember the name
Now,
of it.
when we get down, to remind me again.
It's
Okay.
right there, CETA, 1 day every 2 weeks, 4 lines
That's-
above.
That's different.
That's different. He's talking about for that, what he wanted to do, Joe Palin for.
Oh, got it.
that
Yeah, it was to do the
extra.
planning and zoning
Yep.
things,
And
remember?
CETA does do it. They are getting
That's
a
down.
thing together.
Okay, so
Oh, good.
with this 20,000, right now,
Mhm.
we have 12,000, so. My note here, this is the CETA was in there as well as the planning.
Yeah, okay, so that is baked in there then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-mm-mm.
Because I definitely think it's a good thing. So as long as we plan for it, I think it's good.
Jim, I'm not sure if that's correct or not, because this contract labor right now is our current Stan Tech.
Yep. Oh, and we're only bumping it by 8.
Uh,
We don't have that under engineering fees.
Yeah, okay, no,
Engineering
it's right,
fees.
okay. It's down here in the engineering fees, okay. So, no, that's,
Okay, there.
the engineering fees, the planning goes down and a little bit further down here, so we're okay.
Oh. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, no, thanks for commenting on this. So this is that CETA contract, if we decide to use it for a complete year, if and whenever we start it in next year, so there's funding there for it, so. And I did have an email today with CETA, or Chris Geeson, the gentleman that was here, and he's of the opinion that we should start doing some layout work for EDA initially, just to start out with, so. And I'll bring that to the council's attention in more detail about what he was referring to there. In 2022, it's not now, but yeah, okay. Okay, here's the expense, the 80,000, this is in and out. For next year, will be. Whether you do the resolution this year or next year, I would like to do some of the resolutions this year. because we have some water infrastructure that we'd like to get off our water utility bills for this year too, so. There's a software package, office software package called iWork that you guys have been doing the training on and everything, so, so I think that's gonna be a good add. Legal services. Accounting, auditing and accounting, so that's 18,000. Legal services are running about that right now. Some of this will be part of, talk about that here just a little bit further down. Some of that will be reimbursable through our drinking or clean water revolving loan fund. The legal services right now cannot be used for, the grant funding cannot be used for the legal services, but we can put those in our local share when we develop the revolving loan fund that we take out in late 2023, 2024. So we'll get some reimbursement there. So here's the engineering fees, includes right now it includes the Stantec and additional funding for the planning, if that's what we decide to do, or if the council decides to do someplace else, there's some funds there for it. The reimbursable, this covers things for the FEMA, the SEH, which was an engineering contract that we are using for the water trail. And we're getting funding from Olmsted County and Dodge and Goodhue and Wabasha. So it's an in and out in this account here. Reimbursable legal fees that will also be, we'll be moving some of these fees around in a journal entry to get them into the WAC sack for reimbursable.
So for the engineering fees, we're significantly over budget, currently over budget for 2021.
The 22,000,
No, we budgeted for 25
On line 20, on line 143.
and then we're up, over $6,000. So then I'm wondering, is the 35 going to be enough, including the new plan? Or
yeah, that's a good question. And that's one thing. Back in end of August, we didn't have, we picked up 2 more months of activity, so 35 might have been on the short end of it, but we could bump that to 37 and see how it plays out. Want to do that?
I mean, where are we gonna take $2,000 from to pay for? I mean,
Yep.
I'm just saying, then that's where we really have to think about that planning, you know what I mean, if we're gonna use that, because if we're already, we can't afford that service then if.
so, and I guess that's another question about Joe's services. So we contract him and he's our engineer. Do we pay him by the hour? How does it work?
Right, it's an hourly fee.
So maybe that being said, this could be one of those things that maybe he doesn't need to be here the entire meeting. If are we paying him to be at an entire meeting every single time he comes here?
Same thing with Mike too, he's an hourly.
So maybe we have, Mike needs to be here the entire time because
Right.
he keeps us out of trouble. Joe doesn't need to be here the entire time. He needs to be here for his portion.
Water and sewer,
For water and sewer.
which we now
and-
move to the top.
And if there's any planning and
Yes,
zoning
yep.
pieces, but if we're paying him hourly, half the time he's half asleep sitting there waiting for
Right.
his
Right.
time.
No, I think that's a good idea to look at that.
What did you say?
I said, I think it's a good idea to look at that, Lori. Maybe you know, because everything for Joe is first anyway, maybe we just move it up to the top of the agenda always, and then Joe can dismiss himself when that's done.
And I think we limit his time.
Right.
Because
And
he doesn't need to talk and re-talk. And I probably sound like a broken record saying it, and I think he's helpful, and I think he's doing a great job. But he talks very slowly and he repeats himself often. And if he's being paid hourly, he's drawing that time out, and the city's just, it's like the dollars are just going down the drain. It's another dime, another dime, another dime. So I think we need to be responsible about that, and he doesn't need to be here the whole time.
I think it's a good idea we moved it up to the water and sewer. The only other, there's some streets or issues like that, but we could move those subjects to the top.
and I'm wondering too, Rylan. Oh, go ahead.
So I have been talking to him about brevity, and that's why I'm reviewing the agenda with him and wiping some things out that don't need to be talked, you know, like. So I'm coaching him on that, and so, but yeah, still,
It's a nice little bump in his paycheck when we keep him here for 5 hours and he doesn't need to be here for half of it.
well, I'll give him the benefit of that. I don't think he's doing that for that reason, but we sure can change the agenda if we
Right.
have, so.
Right. And I'm wondering, Rylan, too, like with, and it's not like we have a lot of meetings. I think I've only seen one on the calendar for city roads and streets. And I'm wondering if maybe we just eliminate Joe from that. And then if we have a question, you know, just for example, resurfacing, if he could tell us, you know, which ones ahead of time that we probably wouldn't want to look at resurfacing, but maybe that's something like, you know, you and I and Kane can do, and Joe wouldn't have to necessarily be involved unless we need him involved.
Well, we do it once a year. It takes maybe 2
Yeah.
hours. We respect his experience.
Sure. Yeah.
Go
See,
out
I
there.
wasn't sure, Rylan, how many times, because I knew I was at the one. I didn't know if there were others that I wasn't aware of, or so.
We just do it once a year in the spring.
Sure. Okay. Well, then that's not going to hurt anything, because that's only a couple hours or so.
But I think of being responsible about those things, and then, we have, you know, we've had to have time for citizens to chat with him. But where I was thinking, oh, wow, that's really nice of him to block 2 of his days to come and talk to citizens. Well, we were paying him to come and sit here for 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day versus if we would have had, you know, a 2-hour Q&A session that we hosted in the evening. I think I thought we contracted him, we paid him an annual rate,
No, it's not.
and that's my,
And those open house, I mean, that's
it
unique to the project.
was unique to the project, but
And we tried to welcome, we tried to accommodate the residents too,
yeah.
and they appreciated it too. if
But
they
I
were
would
here.
say we're over budget, and we're trying to keep our residents from having to pay more in taxes, which is the other end of it.
So there's fees. Because there's a lot of fees here that we don't, and I shouldn't say we don't see, we see, but they're going over to the whack and sack or reimbursable with the PFA,
Right,
and they get
but
reimbursed for those services.
And that comes out of the engineering?
Pardon me? In the engineering, you know, the activity that, because I'm guessing, I shouldn't say that,
Certain things,
but there are certain things.
not
that
everything.
identifies.
No,
so part of the, but it's also money that when he says it's reimbursable through the funds that we got through our grant dollars or through whatever,
Mhm.
it's still money that we can't spend on something else,
No, but as soon as we send the
right?
form in for the submission, we get the check within several weeks to pay him.
Right, but if we have $10,000 to spend on the project and we eat up 5,000 of it with engineering fees because
Oh, you mean our normal project?
anything, on anything with if But we could have spent $1,000 on engineering fees. That leaves $9,000 for the project versus 5,000.
Yeah, I think we just have to be more diligent about maybe we need to budget like it is hourly. I think we've been budgeting like it's
A contract
Yeah.
with like,
so.
you're here no matter what,
Right,
so.
so maybe we really have to sit down and look at a monthly. What does this month look like? What?
Would he consider a contract?
Well, I don't know that, and I think when I look at the engineering fees, if we budget, let's say that we say, Joe, we can spend $25,000 a year on you, and that's X number of hours.
Yeah.
Then it's similar to anything else that we do. We say, we've got you here this month, and this is how much, you know, you owe us basically, or we can pay you, and if it goes above and beyond that, then we need to vote on it versus,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just think it's put us in. I think it's gonna hurt both of us once. It's gonna hurt things that we really need is experience or his expertise, and we don't have the funding until we vote on it, but then at the same time, he's looking at it like, because every professional service, whether it's auditing or anything we borrow, subcontract labor, is all on an hourly basis.
right, but we have to hold the budget. We have
Right.
to, we have
And
to
we
meet
take
that
risk
budget and
and
we're
assuming-
not.
Yeah.
And I think but like auditing, that's such a specific time. And because of this project, and it is unique, it just seems so fluid and it can easily get away from us. And I think that that's what's happened. And so I think we just have to be more diligent about, like, I like the idea of bringing it up to the hit everything to the top of the meeting and be like, okay, well, we only need you really here for an hour tops, Joe.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, when we go into these years, we didn't realize we was gonna have SD Ventures come in here looking at a storage area. Same thing with the outside storage, you know, that design, those things may not have been aware of us when we set the budget. The lot split that came in, he's involved with that, but we probably didn't know about that either, so it's really just a guess what we're trying to do here. So to set a budget based on, no, you don't know what's gonna happen is.
But that's how we
kinda
have,
risky.
that's how
That's
we do everything.
Yeah,
We never know what's gonna happen, but what
Sure,
we
I just-
can control, our council meetings. We can control that. We can control public hearings, open houses. We can cut those back.
Sure.
And I think that that's what if we want to consider the planning and zoning help, we're gonna have to cut back on the hours of engineering we pay to be able to fit the $35,000.
And I know I'm not on the council, but I just want to say this for me and her. We are swamped in the office and the planning and zoning stuff like the cups, the variances, all these things.
Yeah, there's a lot to that.
Yeah, you guys don't have a clue. I mean, we've
Yeah.
never had like real training we were just like thrown in the hot wire. And then there's different situations with every single thing. And then our daily tasks aren't getting done because we're fretting, trying to get this, because the planning and zoning so close to this. I really think that extra service that you guys are talking about would help so much, not just
I
B and
agree.
Z for us.
I would also like them to work with us to kind of teach us
Yeah,
what's
kind of
going on,
train
not
us
just
as
take over and do it, because that's
Sure.
not gonna help us at all. 'Cause
Right.
then we can do some of these smaller ones or less complicated
There's
ones.
just been a lot of really big stuff
some
and we
stuff
are
out.
just winging it.
So I think, this $35,000 will work if we stick to it.
well, and I guess what's the hourly rate? How did we come up with 25,000 or 20,000? You know what I mean? Did we
Well, we looked
say?
at 2020, it's at 20,000.
Mhm.
And I think we just assumed there's gonna be an increase of activity or his,
Mhm.
like everything else, labor rate goes up. And so we're just trying to protect it, what we did and.
But I guess, how many hours does that cover? So like in the, one of the entries, it was, this covers, 1 day a week, 8 hours a day at $17 an hour, whatever it is, even our part-time person, it covers this much. So what is Joe's rate? And then how many hours does that get us?
$165 an hour.
65?
165.
You're in the wrong business. So that doesn't cover that many hours.
What's that?
So that's not that many hours. Right?
I think that other part-time consulting piece, it seemed like that would take hours that maybe Joe is spending doing some activities. And put it maybe onto a lower priced resource that might be more adequately prepared to handle it. There might be resource allocation we can think
I'm
about
pretty sure
there.
that's what the rate is. I don't have the contract here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good thing. I think we should seriously consider it, but I don't know how we can continue. We're gonna be there. We're gonna be $10,000 over budget probably by the end of the year.
And now at 30, I don't even know what I put in here now. 30
It's not fees.
30 or 35,000. I can't remember what I put in here. It's only 3.5 hours a week.
I'm sorry.
That's only 3.5 hours a week at 30,000. Is that what I did?
Again, this isn't anything to do with the water project or anything like that. That's all funded. That's all reimbursed back. So it's just the site plans, things like that, that outside of
It's still.
the water project, so.
So
We can leave it 37,000 as we go through it. We know we got. Maybe there's some other places that put 1,000 out here and 1,000 there, and the budget's still okay.
But where are we gonna pull from?
Well, we've got 500 more line items to go through, so.
Ryland.
That's 706 lines I went through today, so it's all there, so. Okay, let's continue on and maybe we'll come back to that. Um, So. Back up here. This one seems a little off too. Building inspector. We've had a lot of remodeling going on. And some of those require fees. This is Roger and Casey. And this one does seem underfunded too.
will we have anything though do we have anything in 2022 that we are considering? Like, what do we have in 2022 that what projects within the building?
It's just people, it's not so much, it's residents building permits.
Decks,
We don't have any
pools.
lots to build on. But
Remodeling.
They're constantly
Home-wise.
finishing basements.
And so
decks.
okay,
all the building plans they take a look at and
But we don't get reimbursed for that? Like, it's not, doesn't come out of our,
yes, we do.
Just come out of the fees.
At the top here, it's building permits is like 20,000.
yeah, just.
I mean, we should be covered, right? On the back
From that
end.
perspective, yeah.
Because that comes back as a fee.
Right, it should be building permits. 30,000.
The building permits was up 30,000, almost $30,000. We went up
And
to
those are-
52. Right.
2 or 3 homes, yeah.
Mhm.
Sheriff's contract. here. Fire state aid, that's another in and out. They send, the state sends the city a check, we send the check to the fire department.
That was for the which one, Ryland? The 13 or yeah, 13,412. Okay.
Must be something, and we'll have to take a look at that. Maybe there's a journal entry in there that needs to take care of something.
That goes to the Relief Association, not the city budget.
Yeah, we already cut him that check. Sweet.
Yeah, I've got it marked. There was something in March, we had a $3,000. It's an expenditure for the. So I've got that listed as a journal entry. I'm not sure what that $3,000 was for, but we'll take a look at that. Just highlight that one. Just these are all pretty well. The fire department these are the figures that Dan gives me for the fire department, and I just plug them in.
Workers'
This-
comp went up quite a bit.
What's that?
Workers' comp went up quite a bit.
Few of the areas in our budget year that
The workers' compensation. insurance.
And workman's comp insurance.
Compensation insurance is kind of spread out amongst a lot of different departments.
Someone get hurt this year?
What's that?
Did someone get hurt?
Maybe it's the amount of firefighters,
More people?
more people, more members, because that's one of the highest rates is for the fire department. So
Oh,
We spent, the difference between these two numbers, we spent a new AC and a new door on the kitchen.
Yeah.
Overhead door. First responders there's a lot of funding in there. It doesn't get spent. The 6,000 here hasn't
That doesn't change really,
changed, yeah.
nor the
What
miscellaneous.
that might be for what it would be used for,
general equipment,
general equipment for first responders.
Did they buy radios one year?
I know they were looking at getting new AEDs.
I thought that was the thing is they were gonna budget a radio
A
each year.
Yeah.
I think Dan, Pat, and Chris,
Mhm.
that was happening. So maybe they are gonna be purchasing one here this year, 21.
Mhm.
Or if it came out of capital equipment, no, that's fire department equipment, it's not first responders. Okay. We leave that there. I know that Pat was asking for the 2,000 this year for supplies, or 1,000 more, I should say.
generator.
They purchased the generator already, but there were some other things they were looking at. Snow removal. Of course, it all varies by winter. We had a mild winter so far yet, November, December, but this is what we've had in the past years, and if we don't use it, we don't. Street lighting, it's pretty consistent. Street maintenance. This here needs to come down to here. It's another journal entry, but there's no seal coating in 2022 plan, so that was 40,000. So in case there's any type of street maintenance, we'll do that. We could probably drop that 20,000.
Tree removal?
Street maintenance.
Is seal coating? Yeah,
We did it this year. We do it every other year.
mhm. Hey, Kane and Ryland, being that we're on this, don't let me forget, there's up by Mark Johnson's place. You guys have to see that. Their street is really bad. I don't know what happened there. I just didn't want to forget. I'll remind you guys of it.
That's on West Center Street.
Well, it's just off, I forget what lane that's called. Yeah, is it Shady Lane?
Yeah, Shady
Yeah.
Ridge Lane, yeah.
Yeah, back where
Yeah,
Mark.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, and then there's another one kind of like it on Center Street. I don't know if it was just a boil, but I mean, there's blacktop all over.
Okay.
So,
Tree removal. We were at 15 and talking with Kane, we talked about continuing to clean up right of ways. And we're starting to see more dead trees. What happened this year for this to bump up or to use this much, so.
hopefully we don't get hit by the big storm they're showing on TV.
I mean, that could be one area we could lessen and just use 15,000 for whatever trees we can take care of and wait till the next year too, unless it's.
I just know it. When we hire arborists to come in with their bucket truck or their clam truck, or
Yeah.
it's expensive to get someone to climb a tree, so it doesn't take
Yeah, it
long to
is.
go through that.
Mhm.
We'll just leave it there. I made a comment about a journal entry, just going back and looking at this. We'll take a look at that. That's way out of whack. So training must be further down. Okay. Any other comments, Kane, on shop? No. Parks, recreation. Years. On-site sanitation makes up a big portion of that for the parks. Take a look at that compound. We'll take a look at that comp too. Community center. Here's something that we've had 30,000 there just as a placeholder for maintenance. Are we doing the boilers this year?
Yep, the boilers are scheduled, yep.
And that's 13?
It did go up. I think it's around 14
14, okay.
is what it.
That's supplies. What was that? See up there on line 279. We were 15, 18. Do you know why that? what was like 5,500? What supplies is that in the community center?
Toilet paper.
Like
Most of the
COVID toilet paper?
We bought a desk.
paper for the, we get 15,000 from the, contract.
Did we? This is where we were budgeting for the new situation for the new employee.
No, but it's like we got a laptop, we got a desk.
Oh, okay.
Or, yeah, laptop, desk, any office supplies, anything that we've bought, period, like for the office or the community hall, cleaning, all that comes out of there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's
But
kind
I
of
didn't
a,
realize that. I was
you know,
thinking
like
that
a
was like
bucket
toilet
for
paper.
everything
things
for the
like
city
that.
hall.
Okay.
Yep. If you
That
want, I
makes
can
sense.
get you guys a report or whatever.
No, it helps to know what was in that.
I swear we cut down 100 trees a year in paper because of packets and maps and
Mhm.
Joe. Oh my God.
The other things look pretty consistent, really.
Mm-hmm.
30, 30, 30, yeah, maintenance, yeah.
This is supplies also for. Yeah, that's true. You know, like the Menards. That comes through here,
Yeah,
Yep.
we get light bulbs, if we get,
piece of
Yeah.
payment.
it's everything,
That'd be like printing the big maps and all that kind of stuff too, right?
all of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this placeholder.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to be there,
I'm sorry, what?
the placeholder, the 30,000,
Where do you see that?
that R and M, well, you were,
Oh, R and M is
Buildings.
buildings or vehicles, which one?
Buildings.
The 30,000.
Oh, there it is, I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Yeah, that would be, we've kept in there for maintenance also, if we ever want to do anything. I think we had that in there for improving the upstairs or any type of remodeling.
Hmm.
If we were to
Yeah, but
do
that's
something
under
upstairs.
parks. Dana's under parks,
Oh, I'm sorry.
so that should not be city hall, no.
No, the 30,000 under community center.
It's community
You're
center
right,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, you are,
R&M
okay.
buildings.
Oh, there you are, okay, I was looking up above
What
the
is-
park.
Repair.
Repair and maintenance, yeah.
So, but I think you're right, though, we have $30,000 sitting there that we are not spending ever. I mean, we spent $4,000 this year. That's a lot of money.
Well, it's gonna be another 14,000 on top of that for the boilers. So,
oh, so, and that's
This year?
every, is that every year?
This year,
That's 44,000.
But we won't be doing boilers next year.
right, we just, like Ryland said, we've left it in there for some upgrades. Boilers,
Leaky roofs.
leaky roofs, any improvements we wanna do. There was talk about moving staff up to the upstairs, so there was kind of there's a lot of wiggle room there. I agree. 30,000 seems like a lot.
Yeah, maybe we could,
We also have 3 people though crammed in a small office, so I don't want people to forget that. It's getting harder and harder all the time.
right, and we're gonna, now the person that's going to come, what is it, 2 days a week? The part-time person, where are they gonna be?
In our office? It's not
Oh,
really,
they are.
permanent, but as of now, we have them in the office, but we are ready.
Is
Like
there
if
room?
Pete and Renee are on the phones, our calls are interjecting, we can hear each other there. It's not appropriate or legal at all.
Some
It
of the
is.
Right.
upgrade here was part of a capital improvement project too. Versus a budgeted line item, which is kind of, this is, you know, what we're talking about remodeling really should go into a capital improvements fund.
But I
Line
thought you
item
had
for
that-
community center.
I thought you had that added in the capital improvement fund.
You
As a line
had
item.
some, Lori's
You
right,
did.
you had remodel money for an office upstairs in there,
You did.
and it should still be there.
It's further down.
I thought it was 40,000, wasn't it, Lori?
Yeah.
I swear we talked about this.
It's a line item there.
Search on CIP.
Community center. Now we dropped it. 15,000 this year. Was 40. But, you know, those are just placeholders and
But we also have we have more money in that CIP fund than both of these
than what we
things.
have designated, the 100,000, so. And we, just really quickly, we talked about this with Mike Babani the other night. And 450,000, I was explaining to Renee, and I needed Jerry Lynn too, but I talked to Joe, we were kind of going through the cash flow analysis. It's not really part of our budget here, but in 2022 is when we're going to move that seed money, 450,000 over into a sewer utility fund of sorts. So that doesn't affect this budget, but that's going to happen next year. And then 2023, we can put 100,000 into the sewer utility fund. And if we want to add anything else for projects like this, we would add that in addition to the 100,000.
Right.
So,
Well, and the other thing is looking at just where we're at now with expenses for engineering, just for Joe on the line items. If we continue the way we are, we're at 35,640 for this year that we're gonna spend on engineering fees. And that doesn't include anything else. Just doing quick math. And so if we only have 37 in there, we're gonna be right on the target for just Joe. No anything else.
oh, for the planning services.
Yes.
And that's, they figured, I think in the letter, you made reference to 1,000 a month if they needed to, if there was something that needed to be done every month, the 12,000, so that's
So could
kind
we,
of the maximum it would be.
would it be better to make it a separate line item?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think that would help us all. So if we left Joe right at that 30, I mean, whatever. well, we're-
37,
Yeah.
we're gonna be right on target.
And
if
then
we
put
stay the
another
same.
12, if we take it out of this 30 grand that nobody ever uses, if you think that that would be enough. If we're gonna do boilers this year. Could we do that? Take that 12 from the 30, that's just a placeholder. And put that as a separate line item.
Yeah, just
I think it's easier for tracking purposes.
taking something down to keep our levy though, yeah.
Well, that's what I said, we'd take it from the $30,000 placeholder, that's the repair and maintenance for the community center.
Mhm.
And bring that down to 28. Or sorry, 18. I don't do real good math, not gonna lie.
So take this down to 30.
No,
No, you can leave
no.
it there
Leave that
because
at
we'll probably
37.
spend it. I mean, maybe we put it at 35.
We will spend it.
But if we're more diligent, maybe
If we're more diligent, great,
we,
but-
yeah.
I still think.
And then 12. We took $2,000 from something already, didn't we? To do that 37. Didn't we?
5,000.
Well, there was that one that was 4,500, we switched it to 450, I don't remember what. that
Oh, yeah,
was. That's 4,000.
So 12.
I'm
12,000.
guessing just knowing what's coming in November, I don't think there's going to be much of Joe's services that I'm aware of. There's nothing coming into planning and zoning to speak of.
Not that you know of. Every time we turn around, Rylan, there's a variance or a cut, my head is spinning.
Well,
I'm just saying.
what are you saying, that we could leave it at 35 instead of
I'd say
37?
leave it at 35, yeah. Because it's at the end of the construction season. You know, there's nothing-
I don't know, I guess as we get into the project, like we're physically going to be in it soon, is that gonna require more of Joe's time or less of Joe's time? Or is that all, and that's all, but that's all actually.
Isn't that? Go ahead.
Reimbursed, you're right,
Right.
So we're talking about,
Project lot splits comes in or grading.
Okay,
grids
so
or anything
then
like that
it-
for
and then it-
normal construction.
and then to Lizzie's point, if we do hire this group to help us in that area, that should lessen Joe's time.
I like the
It's
idea
not
of a
standard.
planning service line. I mean, that can be.
I
that can be
do.
broken out in any type of invoice from Stan or from anybody.
Yeah.
Right, and it's easy to track, and if we don't use, I mean, then it allows us to track how much we would be able to track it anyway, how much we'd use on the service, but I like it an additional line item.
So you were saying $1,000 a month, so it'd be 12. Is that,
Yeah, that's what it would be.
and then,
But then we're,
go back down to, and then go back to the R&M buildings under community center.
so let's go down here to. I sure would like to take some money on the not training, but this guy right here, but I shouldn't probably. Fire department,
I wouldn't touch fire department.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Dan gave me these figures, so I really don't wanna.
Yeah.
Shouldn't, I should say, let me just say that.
And I think they're pretty lean anyway.
So if you drop that to 18,
No,
No,
you're in
keep
the wrong
going
spot.
down, go to community center fund. And it's R&M buildings. There's 30,000 there,
Did you go buy it?
Nope, it's right
Oh,
there.
right there, so remove 12,000 from that. That would fund the Stan Tech
18,
planning
Yeah.
services.
so we do that.
And the rest would go to what?
The rest of the 30,000, there'd be 18 left.
Well, then it would be maintenance.
It would just
something
stay-
comes up.
That's just the maintenance.
And I think that's something we can reevaluate each year too, if we keep, well, like you said, well, to that 3,000, it'll end up being more like 17, 18,000. Correct, Kane?
Yes, with $14,000 boilers this year,
Right.
plus what we've already had, yes.
So.
Right.
And then and then knowing we won't have to do boilers next year, that 18,000 we should be safe for regular maintenance and repairs.
Yep.
And if we plan for big items, if we're doing a remodel or whatever it may be, roof, whatever, windows, that'd be CIP.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, let's just,
I like it.
we're just about here to the end. Let's just see where we're at here with these. Like this is the last, almost like the last item. This is, the reason this is high here is that the system doesn't allow, there's Kane, Jim, Donnie, their salaries are split between the parks and the water system. And that's why these numbers, whatever the Jordan's explained to me, just doesn't break it out like we'd like to see
Yeah.
it. But for budget purposes, we do make it this way, so. So here's some training.
And now, so that training, that $1,200 for next year has to cover the 3 full-time employees and possibly 2 seasonal employees, if there is training opportunities for the seasonal employees. There hasn't been any,
I'd say probably, yeah.
If they're mowing lawn, what do they need training for?
right?
I mean.
We
I'm
just need to be
saying.
clear then, that's what they are, is lawnmowers.
True, like we can't ask them.
We
to-
can't ask them
yeah.
to trim trees or spray
Right.
weeds or,
Right, because if they spray weeds, they have to have training to do it and safety.
you know,
Mhm.
In the past, we've had 600 a couple of years ago, but we're picking up a new employee too.
I would almost leave that.
I mean, there's more training out there.
Yeah.
I showed you one the other day, Ryland, it was $1,000.
Yeah, for wastewater, no.
It was,
water.
Public Works, Engineering.
Is there anything else that you can take or that anyone can take between today and the end of the year to spend some of the funds that we already have budgeted, since you only have $10 spent?
Yeah, that seems
Can
odd.
you
There's
spend
only
some money, please?
$10 out of there.
Yeah, that is odd.
What was that?
I don't know.
Yeah, because what'd you spend $10?
We'll have to check.
Well, and see, like this year, I didn't have to do any training. I had to do
Right.
my exams.
Mm.
So now, next year I'll have, and each one's kind of different, the water, the boiler, the pesticide. they're kind of different hours needed for different licenses, so it could kind of come and go. I don't think Jim's been to anything this year, but now next year will be a big year for him.
And you can't like pre-do it like within the
Mhm.
next 2
No,
That
months.
stuff on our bill was back in January on a credit card or something.
That must have been
Huh?
that must just been a renewal fee or something.
Yeah,
Some sort of,
membership.
No, but
Yeah.
there's, I guess, Lori, are you asking, is there something that they're gonna need next year that they could take this year to
Yes.
spend up some of that money?
Yeah,
right?
and then not have to.
Right, not to have to hit the budget for next year.
But that's not how licensing works. Like you
No,
can't
we're not
take
gonna
your,
have to.
I think it
You
would
know.
count towards this year's hours, 2021 hours, which we're both caught up.
Oh, you are? Okay.
So what about? Do any of the training for the wastewater, is that funded? Could we be reimbursed by that, for that?
I've yet to hear about that. I do find it funny, the state's giving us 80% of this project and they're not supplying the training for the employees that are gonna be left with this burden. That's just me, that's a personal feeling, so.
Well, is that something we need to look into?
Somebody that has that.
Right, I agree, Jim. Should we double check on that?
Yeah, because it might be something that maybe, excuse me, might come along with it, or, maybe we just need to dig into it a little bit.
So if we put this at like 1,800 for now, just to see what we go through, because we've made some nice big changes here.
Yeah, for sure.
Kane, how often are yours biannually or annually?
So water is biannual, the boiler is biannual, pesticide annual, tree certification annual.
I'm just wondering, like, it'd be nice if we could get you like almost on opposites, you know what I mean? Like you and your
I
person.
hear
like,
you, yeah. And we may have that potential with our new employee,
Mhm,
but I think Jim and I are kind of,
mhm,
we're on the same year right now.
mhm.
Okay, so we ended up with going too far. Well, no, I'm not kidding. So that changes. So that dropped us from 885 to 880,000 to 5,270 below where we were with our preliminary levy based on what we did here. So if we go here to the summary sheet, now what we'll be showing is our tax rate from 3.368 this year to 0.376 is a 3.2% increase. This originally was 3.78. Or we can, if we want to go back and take advantage of this 5,200, if that's what we want to have different, if we want that, if we want to hire 0.378, that's only 2,000s, but it makes $5,000 difference. That may help with one of our budget line items too. Which is a good position to be in. I don't think there's nothing really bad about a 3.19 or 3.78 increase. I mean, this looks good, 3.2 versus 3.8, but
It's lower than the recent rate of inflation.
Right.
So that's healthy, I hope.
Because I think it could be a lot worse.
I mean, we still have one of the lowest, if not the lowest tax rate. For cities our size, that these are 0.7.
We are the lowest in the
Huh?
state. We are the lowest in the state.
Yeah, it's
Or
just,
no quiz.
we're not,
And I think
and that's gonna change, of course.
it is going to change with our,
Time.
Yeah.
with our growth and with our infrastructure. But I think during the project, while we're introducing scary numbers to people, it's a smart thing to do to try to keep that where we can right now.
Yeah, and it's
Even
very
where-
enticing to people.
True.
I mean, to look at, because that's something we can boast. I mean, look at our tax rate, year over year. I mean, that's pretty nice if you compare it to Rochester or Casson or Byron.
Yeah, those are all. Like, we need to keep in mind, we need to support staff too, and we know
Right.
that. The part-time person will help out, but there will be times when we're probably gonna need another person too.
Right, and I
May
think
not
that,
have
Oh,
enough.
right, and I think as we grow, there's amenities that we don't have that other towns have.
Right.
Public pools, libraries, all those things, we do not have that.
Right.
That
But,
is
and,
another reason why our tax rate is low.
right. And the nice thing though, too, is so as we grow, we're going to get more tax revenue, you know, it'll be able to grow with us or we grow with it.
I like starting this way. I like starting here. I like starting at this rate with a big project coming and then,
Yeah,
I like it.
I think this is good.
So if we, yeah. I mean, that's a nice change from 885 down to 880, and it's still
I think so.
respectable, I think we.
It's showing that we're trying.
Because we did make some nice changes of. I thought we changed. Oh, yeah, we went down to 25 to 20,000 from 25 on streets.
Yeah.
And 286. We did, drop that from 30 to 18. So the big change. 298. We increased training from 1,200 to 1,800.
We've increased staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've increased staff to, you know, that the city gains by that, the residents gain by that.
I think we're setting it up so that you guys will hopefully have the support.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow it.
I think we're setting this up next year so that you will gain support,
Yeah, more help.
Right.
more help.
Yeah, the one thing I am concerned about though, is that it was already loud, you know, distractions, talking to the city attorneys and all that. I don't think you guys understand now we're cramming 3 in a small office. So, I mean, at some point here, I don't really know if that part-time person switched in there is gonna work. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's
I'm on the
that's
phone,
why I was asking the
this stuff, this
question.
one's on the phone.
So
It's not
do you
practical.
remember when I don't know, I just was jabbering to somebody.
How about the hallway? I heard you.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's even an option.
That's up to you guys. I mean, I'm just not really a big fan of 3 in an office, because there's times me and her are on top of each other. And if I'm on the
Well, today
phone,
was hard.
today was hard. I mean,
I was
I
doing
love you and I
training,
just wanted to
Rylan
toss
came
people.
in, she was on the phone and I'm trying to
So,
listen and
Yeah,
I
you
had
know,
to.
when you're doing things that are confidential that we're dealing with and then everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Maybe that we can create, instead of having to build out a whole space, like
Yeah.
create like a flex space where if you need take a phone call, you can go to the phone booth, or if you need to do your training.
Problem
you
is
can
though,
go
we
to the
need our
phone booth.
desktop and a lot of times when we're on these phone calls,
Mhm.
we're pulling up things
Right,
on our
and I mean,
computer, you know what I
I
mean?
mean, there'll be space for a computer and what have you, but rather than trying to create a physical space for every single person, you can create that flexible space that'll allow you to have the ability.
Well, or
to-
why couldn't we get a cubicle and use that upper room that you guys spent all the money and had it heated, air conditioned, now
Right.
doing a hotspot of internet up there?
Nice.
So I mean, I don't understand why we're not putting that person up there.
Well, one reason is that we can do this with our CIP or budget is to put in we've talked about this as a movable chair on the stairway.
Yeah, we talked about that,
Because we talked about that as like
15,000,
14.
but I would guess by now it's 20,000. Right, Kane? Cause that was like 3 years ago.
And there's no way of making it down here. A cubicle down here in this
I mean, if you guys are okay with it, but
Yeah.
then the problem is.
There's too many meetings. I mean, once we get going, once life gets back to normal, there should be more.
Yeah, because we've had
gatherings
like
and meetings and stuff
Fiber
here.
Arts Guild now, it's been like
Fiber
2
Arts.
days a week. And they're in
Yeah.
here all day frolicking.
And hopefully there will be another, like our older community members used to gather, and that was really good for them. So,
I know we talked about, putting somebody in the hallway. I think everybody's just concerned about the safety, and that's why we did the red model for the two. Staff too, so putting somebody out in the hallway, I think is just a little risky, but you never know.
Or what's the
I'll be glad, and hopefully nothing would ever happen, but the
Yeah.
other option is to put somebody upstairs, but that's a learning process for that person to gain that experience to be able to operate by themselves too.
Or what's the possibility at some point, and I know this is kind of pie in the sky right now, but at some point, or do we want to consider taking part of the chambers there, the end that butts up to the office, to take, 8-10 feet out of that and drop a wall and expand the office? And make that maybe a room on its own, so you have a doorway in. Yeah, and then you've got the privacy, you've got the quiet.
Our voices all carry and flow and.
We did look at that, Jim.
Yeah.
We decided to do what we did a year ago.
Okay,
And I think there's a couple concerns. One was just taking space away from the rental. And there's also something to do with
Elections.
handicaps too.
I thought it was elections because this room has like a capacity. And it's already super tight, like elections, we go all the way back. Well, you guys have all been.
oh,
Yeah.
Because it's township and city at the same time.
Well, right, so if you're taking space, we're already out of space for election.
Okay.
I'm sure there
so
are
really upstairs might be our only option.
for aging municipal buildings.
Mm.
There's gotta be those.
CETA can help out with that.
He is good with all that, yep.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
hope.
So are we okay with where we're at, or do we want to go back?
Man,
I like
I'm
this.
gonna go back. I like it.
it shows that we've
5,000 out?
squeezed. Yeah, I mean, and especially in a time where we're doing a lot of things.
Mhm.
It's not, we didn't get, we're not frivolously spending.
Last item is, the rest of these spreadsheets all affect bond payments and things we can't touch, shouldn't touch.
Mhm.
The whack and sack is, it's being used now to funnel a lot of the reimbursement money, grant money. That's how it will come into us. Eventually, there'll be a sewer utility fund set up in 2023. Capital improvements. Yeah, okay. So here we have our 100,000, and then we have some pull tab. So there's a couple things that the fire department asked for, and I think this is correct. They wanted a line item to put in open house supplies for events.
Didn't they want that in the fire department budget?
No, I
In
had it.
Dan's budget?
I thought they wanted it here.
Oh, maybe I'm mistaken. I thought they wanted in Dan's fire department budget, just like training and.
Okay,
Yeah, so
I
he
thought-
could use it when
I
he
thought both
needed it.
Dan and Pat asked for 2,000 in their budget.
but here's where the line item. Now, right now, this is the line item they wanted to add to. So I can confirm that with Dan if he wants this back in the fire department.
That was my understanding, but let's check with Dan.
So our 5,000 will go down to 3,000. But the other line item they wanted, that we don't need to decide tonight, but we should discuss before the end of the year, is to pull in a Pine Tab donation annual designation that we expense on a quarterly basis. And right now, this 7,000 here agrees with this 7,000, it's only too far, sorry. Lines up, that's the in and out. Here's the donations, here's the revenue. this is how we spend it. And the letter that was in our packet last week from our HR attorney, she outlined all the different subjects that we could use those funds for. Once we designate what that is for, then we can,
So my we could put it back into the fire department for things like the open house. And, that open house would be like what you guys, like fire prevention.
Fire prevention week, yep.
That's, so my understanding or my memory was that, why wouldn't we just take that 10,000 or that 10% and
And put
put
it back.
it back into,
Like that community fund type thing that Dan was asking for, like open houses, right?
right,
'Cause I think,
right.
I think it said we could use it for stuff like that, yeah.
They can, yes, they can use it for education and
Yeah.
things like that. They just
Community
can't,
activity,
I think not equipment.
right?
That was what I thought we were going to do, but I,
let me talk to Dan. And we should review that letter from the attorney. To make sure that's legally, we can do that. The fallback would be is that we put the open house back into the fire department further up in our budget, 100 funds, and designate this, whether it goes to a scholarship, food bank. I think it can go back to the fire department too.
right, it can go
Just
for,
like fire
yeah.
relief.
it just can't go for equipment and things like that, but I think it can go for
Training, education.
education,
Yep.
community events, which would be which would be exactly what they're asking for
Yep.
with that $2,000.
If the council's in agreement with that. Yeah. Because the council makes that determination.
Right. Because that's the 10% that not everybody charges, not every city charges.
Mhm.
Correct.
And we are going to keep charging it's fine, because not always is the fire department going to be that
Correct.
person possibly down the line. So I think having that 10% is a good idea, but we can then effectively not charge them by giving it back. Which I think would be a really, I don't know, a goodwill
That's a lot of-
gesture.
A lot of funds going into education.
Well, and it depends how well pull tabs go.
Mhm.
You know,
Right,
if we're paying out month after month, we have some bad months. If there's no profit made for us, for the Relief Association, the city doesn't get that 10%. They only get that 10% when there's profit. So there's been months where there's been no 10% money contributed to the city. So what is the total at this year?
It's,
Cause it's up and down. Some months it's really good, you know, you probably get $1,000, but then other months, there's nothing. Now when COVID was here, or
yeah,
still
now
is
it's,
here,
that's,
Now, Kane, is it 10% after a certain amount is reached, or is it just always 10%?
I think it's just the 10% of profit.
Okay,
So 1 month we paid out our yearly audit to Glenn Heeman. Remember that, Jim? We had
Yep.
a big bill up there.
right.
So we thought we made $6,000-7,000 that month, but actually we spent 8,000 on a report. So we didn't make any money. So the city didn't get their funds, their 10% that month.
So I don't even see it on here. Is the pull tab donations?
yeah, it's clear at the back. It's clear at the back of the spreadsheet. Capital investment fund.
I just, like, I don't know, my thought about it is, they do the work, they,
Yeah, pull tab donations this year is $22,970.
That's the 10% money? I don't think so, Ryland. That's not the
Oh,
10%
okay,
money.
yeah, we've got some journal entries, because it's 15,000, here goes to
what
the
page? are we on?
425 investment fund.
What page are you on? How are you finding this?
If you go to, page 13. Well. Too far. Yeah, it's on page, bottom of page 11.
7, so it does say. Does say 22,000, but you don't think that's,
Right, and
but that's not right.
15,000 of that is, it needs to be moved. That's a journal entry. It has to be moved down to the 425 M investment count, which is the fire department equipment fund and the capital investment fund.
So it's more like,
7,000 or something like that. There's
which
probably.
is why maybe we are thinking 7 this next year.
Yeah.
So every time you see this number, so the 39 is also like from 2020, also is minus 15,000.
Journal entries will, yeah, from 22.9,
I'm just wondering how that works, but
that's a capital investment fund. So that's going to be we're going to take those full tab donations and make it that new line item down there. We can change it every year too.
yeah, I think obviously we need to talk about it at a regular council meeting and of how we're gonna do that, but I just think, why wouldn't we make that almost like an in and out thing?
I'm sorry.
Why wouldn't we make that an in and out thing to back to the fire department?
How do we do that?
No, why would it? I would suggest we do that.
Right, that's why we're doing, so we can keep track of it, because right now it just comes into the capital investment fund. We use it wherever we want to, so that's why we need the line item.
No, I know, but I'm asking, that's why we bring it, that's why we can donate that back then. That 10%.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
that's why
So
we
go
are,
ahead and check against that account, yes.
right, so. I just think we should consider donating it back to the fire department. Because they're the ones that do the work for the pull tabs, they're the ones that pay all the money for the pull tab, you know, they do all of it. Why wouldn't we put that back into their funding?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, that's an option that council can decide, but that's why I think we're.
They just have to be able to.
Between the open house request educational material versus the 10% that can go to that whole list of things. We don't need to send it back to the fire department.
Well, but I know, but why wouldn't we? So that they can do promotional activities and increase their reach in the
Sure,
community.
no, we have two options. We can either put that in the budget up ahead in the 100 funds, or we can put it down here in our capital investment fund too. Capital investment fund, we don't, there's all kinds of options for us. We can put it to the food bank, nonprofits. We have more options by putting a line item in the CIP that we can use the pull tab donations for. And that's the way the ordinance is written right now. We make a decision on how we use it right now. It just goes in the capital investment fund. And what the attorney told us is that we just need to, I think, redefine that ordinance so we have more options for this council and future councils on how we want to use that money. So it doesn't always go to the fire department. Not that it shouldn't, it's just that we have an option where we can put the full tab donations,
The 10% money.
the 10% money.
I think there's two different words getting thrown around here, donations and 10% money.
Yeah, I'm talking about the 10%. Sorry. Yeah.
The 10% is 10% pull tabs are the same thing.
Right.
No.
Well,
So right now, we've got like 80,000 in our checking account, right?
yeah, but it's not really ours.
No, the Relief Association.
Right. Okay, yeah,
Okay,
The Relief Association that conducts gambling
correct.
has 80,000 in the checkbook, right?
Right.
Give or take.
Right.
It's completely separate from the city.
Correct.
So each year, this time right around December, we'll say, hey, we should make a donation to the city into our equipment fund.
Mhm.
That equipment fund could be used for a new truck or new gear or new tools. So next year, this time, we asked the city, we'd like to use our equipment fund money
Mhm.
that we've been supporting with gambling funds.
Mhm.
We'd like to use that money to buy a truck. And the city then allows that purchase. The 10% money is
What we collect.
a tax, I
It's
guess.
a tax that we collect that is optional, that we don't have to
Basically.
collect.
Right,
But
it's
we
basically
do.
kind of a city gambling tax in some respect,
Correct.
right?
Yes,
It's not a tax.
yep, it
Well, it
is.
technically is. We're collecting 10% of their profit,
Off of charitable gambling.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's an optional thing, and many cities
It's an
don't.
ordinance thing.
Okay, but it's a city, it's not a state mandate, it's not a federal mandate, it's our city decided to do that.
Yes.
No, you don't have to do it. Cities do not have to collect on that.
Right,
I think it's fine that we do.
Yeah.
What I think though is interesting is that we can, since it's a nonprofit, it's our fire department, they're doing all the work, why wouldn't we give them back the 10%?
or we just not collect it.
I want to use it for something else. We may want to give it to the food shelf. It was intended to be used for
But the-
community projects or whatever. it used to
Sure,
be.
I guess I just struggle because with the gambling, the fire department is saving the taxpayers a lot of money because they work hard at the pull tabs and make money, right? So our taxpayers aren't paying as much as they would fire department, things like equipment and fire trucks and things like that. That's because the fire department and its first, all the people that work, do the pull tab work. So I feel like we should.
Kind of
give
like Gold
that.
Rush, right, Dana? You're saying? In some
Well-
respects, it's its own entity, or well, they're doing, no, forget that. That's really not.
No, because
No,
it's actually
forget
not.
No, it's not. But no, I
But-
see what you're saying, Dana. You're saying the firemen are putting all the work into it
Yeah,
to get that money.
Yeah.
We're taking the 10%. You're saying it makes sense to give it back to the fire department, being that they're the ones with the skin in the game on it.
right. And they're saving us, they're saving taxpayers a lot of money, and the city a lot of money by funding their own equipment with the pull tab.
Right.
So I just don't see why. Now, if it was a different group of people that didn't have that didn't cut like a snowmobile club or something out of Casson, say, that wanted to sell pull tabs at Tilly's, then taking that 10% for our community makes sense to me.
Right.
And who knows who we give it to, but I just think taking that 10% from the fire department within our community doesn't make sense to me.
Because that way, if we don't take it, they put it in their fund, in their account, and then if there's something that they have to buy,
Right.
they
But I
wouldn't
mean,
necessarily have to
I
come to
like-
the passport.
I think we should continue taxing them. I think we should continue the ordinance. I don't think that that's the issue. I think we should just choose. I think it would just be a goodwill gesture as a council, as a city, to contribute that back to the fire department. That's just me. That's my 2 cents.
Well, I
10%.
think there's,
I thi-
the 10% option, the 10% profit that we get is, it's pretty common now. The one thing I don't know, it's pretty common with Pine Island and I think Yoda. There are a lot of cities that do the 10%.
Sure, but
Fire relief.
but is it their fire department selling it? Is it who's making the profit? Is it
Well, the fire department is, and they're sharing the 10%
in every
with the community.
city?
Huh?
In every city?
A lot of cities around here, that was in their packet we were talking about it, Pine Bay.
It's usually a fire department funding thing, how funding goes? Or how
I
that
don't know
works?
how they're using it.
I'm just
But it
wondering,
is being, the city is
Sure.
getting the 10% and using it for various reasons, and I don't know what those reasons are, but it's not unusual to have 10% from a fire relief going to the city.
And I think we should continue to take the 10%. I just think it should go back, we should donate it back to the fire
Right,
department.
or the ordinance.
Or a percent
What?
of it?
Or I had the ordinance.
Because eventually, if the fire department doesn't want to sell pull tabs anymore, or is not able to, which is a possibility, and another club wants to come in,
That's most likely could happen from Rochester.
correct, another
Where-
club wants to come in, then we could take that. Because they're not part of our community,
I got it.
you know what I mean? Like, I just think that this is a community base, this is a volunteer base, this is a group of people who work hard, and to protect the community, we should give the 10% back.
So 2 bits here. In some cities where they have a sportsman's club, a fire department, and say like a youth hockey, say like Rochester, right? There's all 3 of those, right? So the city gets that money and they say, okay, Tilly's, the fire department, they brought in this much money this year. We're giving it back to the fire department. The youth association brought in this much at another bar. We're gonna give that back to them. The sportsman's club did this much money at another location. We're gonna give that 10% back to them. You can use it however you would like. It doesn't have to go to one. So say there was another association in town here, another bar, right? Tilly's too. And say,
Commissioners too.
say like the Lions Club did the gambling there
Right.
at Tilly's number 2. Well, the city could take that 10% money and give it back to the Lions Club service organization, or they could give it to the food shelf.
Mhm.
Or they could give it to the fire department too, I guess.
It just makes sense to me, yeah, as our community grows, if we have a nonprofit, a service-based organization that is doing the work to bring in money to help the community, that's where we should funnel that money back to. That just makes sense.
Or even a percent of it, because I guess one question I would have, Ryland, you brought up like the food shelf and things like that. How does the food shelf, because I think that's a good thing. How does that get funded?
A lot of, so
donated?
we're affiliated with Channel One. And so
Okay.
we benefit from that, but also we've got some great people who run it, and they write a lot of grants. And so we
Okay.
get a lot of grant money. We get a lot of donations.
So
Nonprofit.
the
Of
food
course.
shelf wouldn't be out if they didn't have it, are you saying, or?
We have a meeting on Monday. I can ask, what our situation is. Currently, our issue isn't money it's the supply chain. So
Right,
plenty of money, there's just not the supplies and food. So,
right. Okay.
there's always improvements that can be made to the structure. I think food wise, money wise for food, we're doing well. But
Mhm.
I can check on all of that.
Okay, so I think, this is something that we could even talk about at another council meeting. I think it's good discussion to have, something to think about. But I don't think we have to solve it tonight, right?
Yeah, I agree.
True.
So circle back here. I should talk to Dan to see if the line items should be put back in the fire department.
Correct.
And we'll have another discussion about this
The 10%.
10% money here. Okay, so I think we're still. So I don't think we can really. We still have till December the 16th to finalize our budget. I'll send this out and follow up on some issues and the risk of we really don't want to have this lengthy discussion during a council meeting again.
Yeah.
we could have another early December meeting, workshop meeting, just to make sure we're all on the same page, because we don't have to finalize it till the December council meeting. But I do think we should, I want to follow up on some of these line items, and I know I've talked, Gerald and Renee know that we need to have some journal entries, but we could also come back and say the end of November, see what our expenditures are year to date through November. And that may, we'll update this column here, and we'll see if we're still on track, or if we're still way off, or maybe we're gonna be okay. Would that be okay to do that? And we can send you a text, or text us, no, I'm just kidding.
Is it
I can send it, yeah, but don't expect a response, right? No, I'm just kidding.
I'll always respond to you, Ryland.
Of course, thank you. All right, does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Make a motion, we close at 8:10.
Second.
Favor, Ryland, aye.
Lizzie, I.
Dana, I.
Jim, I.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Text us while you're there, Lizzie.
Sure, I
So
was.
Lizzie, you have one more meeting, is that it?
Yeah, I'm gonna be here, or well, be on council through the council meeting in.
Okay.
November.
November.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, lucky you. We will think about you when we're shoveling how many feet of snow and 40 below weather.
I got a snow blower on Facebook Marketplace. For
What's that? All right. See you later.